For the past few weeks, I've been pondering a decision that I kind of didn't know whether I really wanted to make because it's an expensive one. But then if we rewind to yesterday, this happened. Well, here it is. And in this video today, I'm going to take you along as I take this camera out for the very first time on a nice walk down the coast. Very blue sky, there's no clouds at all, harsh light, probably not going to get much, that's very good, but I'm not that bothered about it. I just wanted to get out, use it a little bit, see how it feels, and give me first impressions of it, because ultimately it is an expensive camera. And I thought I'd explain why I've gone for such an expensive and very limiting camera, because it is limiting by today's standards. But hint number one, that's kind of why I bought it in the first place, but I'll explain more about that when we get to the beach.
I haven't really got particularly high hopes of getting really anything decent. The sun is so bright. We're going to be walking into the sun for about 5 miles and all, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, so I thought I'd come down here. I've taken this photo before on my XT5. It's not spectacular, but the weather conditions were similar and I didn't mind it that much, so I thought I'll try and get a similar composition and maybe compare it to the XT5 when I get back to Lightroom and see what I feel about it. But I suppose the XT5 was my initial try to get something like this, if I'm honest, because that's why I swapped to Fuji from my Sony that I had previously, and I still just didn't quite feel like I was getting what I wanted, which was that kind of film feeling. I got sort of swayed by the film simulations, which kind of is something that I do enjoy, but it was not like shooting film, and that kind of, to a degree, why I wanted this, but mainly because of the rangefinder, which I'll explain in a second. But this is the photograph that I wanted. You got the pier, you got these, whatever these are for, and the sea. I think one of the main things that I really noticed straight away was actually when I switched to Sony from my Nikon to a mirrorless camera for the first time, and I don't know, I kind of felt like I was cheating, and I felt like I was kind of removed a little bit, and it felt strange, but I think I was carried away with the results. But I kind of longed for something a lot more basic and a lot more simple than that for a long time. And probably since I first got that, I don't know, I just never felt it properly. And if I'm honest, since then, I've been kind of looking for something more again, something where I feel like I'm doing it again the way I set out to do it in the first place and the way I'd always done it. And I think that's where the film cameras have definitely came in, because you look at kind of the manual feeling, not seeing the results straight away, all the rest of it, and I loved that. And I don't know if maybe kind of that was the start of us looking for something more, because I felt like it was photography again. I felt like I'd been missing photography for ages. And then I found the rangefinder itself, which is just such a beautiful camera type to use. I don't know what you would even class it as. I just love them. From us getting the Mamiya 7, I just knew straight away, like, this is what I want to shoot. I love it. Then I got the Leica MP, and then when I found out that all the Leica M series cameras are like that, then it was just a matter of trying to justify its price in my head, which kind of don't know if I still have even done that, but I've got one now. But anyway, this is the next photograph that I want to take again. So this is it's like a lifeguard building. I want to get it sort of dead on from this angle, so one half of it is in the shadow and one isn't. I am going to have my shadow though, which is a bit of a pain. I'm going to have this issue the entire time, really, I think. But I'll grab this And again, this is more of a comparison shot from the XT5, I think. It's so cold. My hands are freezing. The old metal body of this heavy thing. I tell you what, I have noticed, it is very heavy. Obviously, I've got the Leica MP. This is heavier with the same lens on than the MP, and that weighs quite a bit. But it feels nice, other than when you're walking and it's smashing off your chest. But that's kind of the next part of it for me, which is how the camera feels. This feels amazing. You forget when you've had any other camera with spirit levels and all that sort of stuff in, how much harder it is. You have to be actually aware of whether the horizon's straight or not. You just take that for granted in other cameras, and then you go back and look at your film shots, specifically, or even these, and everything's just so far out. You didn't realise how cockeyed you are until you start taking photos without one. I love the look here. So this is in Shields. It's so, like, it used to seem so like modern when I was a kid, but it looks so dated now. But it's cool, it's interesting, and it works with a sort of harsh light as well, to be fair. Which in all fairness, we've got a few clouds coming to diffuse the light a little bit, so it might not be too bad soon. Still a bit too bright at the minute though. So if you've never used a rangefinder before, essentially what you have is where you look through here in another little window, and you have to kind of cross them over till the match, and that's when you know what's in focus. And it isn't that easy. Well, it is once you get used to it, but it took me quite a while to get used to it. It's not as bad and not as stressful on this because I can check. There's literally a bird landed right behind the camera. It's not as bad on this because I can check focus after if I need to on the photo, but on film, you're kind of always guessing, like, did I get that or not? Which is part of the fun, ultimately. I enjoy that part of film photography. But to have this on a digital camera is exactly what I wanted, because it slows everything down. You can't just press a button half in and then it focuses perfectly for you, follows whatever it is and all the rest of it. You have to find normally a vertical line of some sort, match the focus, then compose the image. And I much prefer it. And that's ultimately why I ended up with this camera, if I'm honest, was I wanted that feeling where it is just manual. It feels like the Leica MP that I've got, which I love, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I want to use it all the time, and that's what I wanted from a digital body. And I thought I was going to get that with Fuji, and I did get it compared to my Sony, because you're kind of working with its limitations. It's not quite the Sony, the autofocus system's not as good as the Sony's and all the rest of it, but it still just felt kind of the same, and that was what I was trying to escape with it. And up to now, I mean, it's early days. I've kind of walked 1.5 miles so far. It feels like the MP, which is exactly what I wanted. Exactly what I wanted. The waves are big today. Hopefully when we get across there, where the cliffs are, we might get some nice shots. Or freeze. We might freeze to death. It's freezing. Very cold. And before I forget to mention it, listen to the sound it makes. Oh, nice. One of them will be right. That's another thing that you forget about as well. You can just kind of spray and pray a little bit with a Sony or other stuff, and I mean, you can do relatively okay sort of frames per second, but not compared to you. So I mean, I think, I don't know, 15 frames per second that can shoot with the Sony that I had. I've got it on single anyway, but I think it only does about 4, so quite a bit different. I think another thing that I've noticed, especially in the last few years, since I had like the really high-end camera stuff, I remember before I went mirrorless, I had the D850 with the Nikon 70-200s and all the rest of it. I loved it, and I really wanted to pick that up. But then when I went to Sony, I just never wanted to use the camera. And in all fairness, I would dare say it was a better camera than the D850. Different, but for the type of things I needed it for, it was definitely a better camera. And I just never really wanted to use it, and I've never really wanted to use my Sony stuff for a while. Then once you switch to Fuji, it's got a little bit of soul in it again, especially the X1. It's a great little camera for that kind of thing, and I loved using that. Wanted to bring it everywhere, but there's just that next missing thing still. And that next missing thing, I think, is just the manual feeling, a slow approach. And it's taken us a lot of years now, I suppose, to even figure out what type of thing I like photographing. Because again, it's no good trying to, I suppose you can, but like, if you're into wildlife photography, the Leica stuff's probably not for you. Sony, probably perfect for that, especially with that autofocus. But for the type of things that I do now, this works perfectly. I don't like having to run around and not knowing what I'm doing. Maybe it'll take me time a little bit more, be a little bit methodical, try and frame things up, albeit it is harder. One, because you're not looking directly through the lens, and two, you haven't got like levels and other bits and bobs to really go off. And I think that's been it ultimately, is I wanted to find something that I just love using, that I want to use constantly, and not necessarily always have to shoot film if that's the case, because film having to wait for the scans and stuff back sometimes, especially for videos, I want to be able to get it done quite quickly. And having photos to edit in Lightroom just sometimes gives you something to do when there's not a lot else to do. Plus the flexibility, obviously the size of the files in this is like 60 megapixels, so I'm expecting quite a bit. And again, I haven't seen anything yet. I'll probably end the video with me back in the office looking through it and see what I sort of think of it, and maybe summarise this little trip. But up to now, it feels, because it is, almost identical to the MP, but in a good way, because that's exactly what I wanted. So I am happy, but no, I wouldn't say it's for everyone, definitely not. And depending on what type of things you shoot, it might be absolutely, completely useless at the type of things you want to shoot. And that's fine, everyone has a different use. Come on, give us a wave. I'm this woman's silhouette. Come on. Big wave. No, I'm gonna get it. I think you should be that woman for us and be up there so I can have a silhouette. So I sent obviously my wife to go and be the model, because the woman kind of didn't walk where I needed her to. And some of the waves that come were huge. I got some potentially good photos, and I'm watching these waves coming in thinking they're going to come over the top, or if they come over the top and get her, I'm going to be photographing my wife's death, because I'm not jumping in there after. That's freezing. Oh, I'm numb, my hands are proper cold. I think I got some nice photos, which is good. But I think we might start walking back that way now. Do you reckon? It's fresh. I was planning on doing about 10 miles. We've done not even 3, so we'll have done 6 miles. It's not that bad, I suppose.
So that was the first trip out with the Leica M11, this little beauty here. First impressions are it is incredibly beautiful to hold. It feels good. It should, at the end of the day. It's not cheap. I suppose I'll explain that bit first then. So I got this off MPB used, and it was £5,500, which again, you can get a lot more of a camera for your money than you can spending that much money on something as basic as this. It hasn't even got in-body stabilization. for that amount of money. And it's a lot more than this new. I feel like I got a decent price on it. And again, that's for manual focus. There's no autofocus or anything like that. But there's not even any video function. But that's not what I wanted from this anyway. So again, this isn't going to be for everyone, not at all. What I wanted this for is a very stripped back and very attentive feeling where when I'm there, I'm just present. It's me, the camera, and it's me and the camera. We're kind of working together on this. I'd shot pretty much everything today on auto shutter speed and auto ISO, and just adjusted the aperture generally around about probably about f6 to about f8 today because it was bright. And I just wanted a different approach. I wanted it to be just a lot more manual, which I suppose sounds a bit ironic when I've just said that some of it was in auto, but the focusing, and I have to do it. I can't just be like, meh, meh, meh. I mean, I don't make that noise, thankfully, when I'm shooting anyway, but you know what I mean? You feel like you're using the camera, and that's what I want. I'm sick of that disconnected, that disjointed feeling of this thing does most of the work. I just point it roughly where I want to be, bang, take the photo, and the files are that ridiculous I can just fix it afterwards. One thing I did notice though is I'm clearly very boss-eyed because every single horizon was like that, like not even close. And I don't feel like I'm that bad with the MP, so I don't know how I was that bad today. I'm not sure, but the photos turned out well. I like them. Again, harsh light, not particularly easy to photograph, although the sort of atmosphere that the spray and everything gave us was good. Oh, and I don't think they're particularly well weather sealed either. So yeah, but I knew this getting into it. I spent a lot of time researching it, and you don't buy an M series camera for all the other bits that you get used to with other brands. They're not like that. I mean, they're not even easy to hold. Like, there's no big grips or anything. I mean, although I am used to it now. Yeah. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, thanks for watching. Everyone who got this far, I appreciate that you had clearly nothing else better to do. And hopefully you stick around, give us a subscribe, thumbs up, all the rest of it, or thumbs down. It's entirely up to you. Thanks. See yous in the next one.